Hang on, live. Poor Michael. You do feel sorry for yourself. Somewhat.
Good evening, all. Oh, are they here? Can you hear us?
Daylight saving time. Yes.
Hi, Anxious. How are you?
Ozzy. As per last stream, I'm going to minimize my typing now we're live because it does sound rather keyboardish. And I now fully comprehend Modwin's problem in that regard. Yes. So poor Michael can't please anyone. Well, Michael, we've all been there in that feeling. But trust me, I'm sure you're pleasing some people. Even if they're the ones who are pleased about your absence and therefore you would never know they're pleased. If you know what I mean. I'm sure I please many people that way by my absence. And tonight we have, as a special treat, all the way from, well, somewhere on the Emerald Isle, if not at the end of a rainbow with his pot of gold, a leprechaun for your delectation.
Yes, I've decided to join you tonight to make up for a lack of Modwin.
Yeah, because let's be honest, it's almost impossible to both maintain a coherent line of thought. Well, for me, it's impossible anyway, and watch the chat and respond to things because the cognitive effort blows my brains, and you don't want blood everywhere.
No. Well, let me know if you can hear me okay out there. I don't know if everything's working because John's at the controls.
Yeah, I know, Anxious Ozzy. I've always thought the same. They used to tell us it was for the farmers because of the time they milk the cows, and I'm thinking, but cows don't have watches. And whether the farmer thinks it's 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock doesn't really make a lot of difference. It's when the cows need milking. For us evil exploiters of pregnant cows. Shouldn't that be moo too? Michael Keller, not me too, moo too.
Yeah, I wonder why everyone's getting together to get rid of it, though. It seems like a conspiracy to me.
What, get rid of the daylight saving? Or the cows?
Yeah. Well, we know why they want to get rid of the cows, the methane and all that. But, the daylight savings, I can understand why people want to chase the light. But, why do they always...
Okay. I'll address Michael with the echo thing in a minute. Okay. Right. So yes, sorry. Yeah. When I was very young, so before nearly all of you were born, they cancelled the right. So British time is Greenwich Mean Time during the winter. So that's the standard time. And then in the summer, we add an hour and it becomes British summertime. Then for some reason, they decided to get rid of Greenwich Mean Time and leave it at British summertime. And I remember, because we were very little, we had to wear these reflective vests to go to school so that we didn't get run over by car drivers. Because we were only little and, And it only lasted about 2 years, and they obviously decided against it. But then I used to go to rock concerts, and you used to have to wait forever for the main act because you had to wait for it to get dark, which was awfully late. And so I would suggest getting rid of British summertime and just leaving it at Greenwich Mean Time. And then that way you'd have early evenings, which are still late, but not as late.
Okay.
That's my view. Is if you were going to do it, I would stick with the times we have in the winter, not the hours we have in the summer. Purely on, it's called Greenwich Mean Time, for Christ's sake, and it's UCT, TC, which one is it?
Time.
UTC, Universal Computer Timey thingy, the one that all computers are set to.
You see, the problem is that I do like the changing of the time, because it's as close to time travel as I'm going to get, really.
Well, you could do what Toxic Threads has done and fly across the date line and land the day before you took off.
That's energetic.
No, because you just sit in a chair. Admittedly, from where we are, it's a lot harder to do, but from where she is crossing the Pacific Ocean, it's not that difficult to cross the date line. And if Anxious Aussie was to go to the US, she would do it on the way home. She would get a day back, but she'd lose one going.
I thought it was the other way around. Because you're heading towards the sun. Could be wrong.
Yeah, sorry, yes. She arrived. Yes, she gained a day. Yes, you're right. I get confused. I'm easily confused, and I cannot stress this often enough to people. I am easily confused. I get muddled up. Anyway, the point is that days change when you cross a nominal point, a not very straight line across the Pacific Ocean. So what you're saying, Anxious Aussie, is you change your hours where you are, but in Queensland they stay the same. Is Queensland no, sorry, I get confused. Quite clearly, it is definitely evidenced already this stream that don't ask me about geography. I get everything wrong.
Yeah, I failed geography in school.
Well, no. The irony is I learnt all my geography in history. In geography, you learn stupid things like this is a strip village, and it's like, who cares? You can see on a map it's a line. But if you want to know where places are, you do history. Yes.
Or places where some of them don't exist anymore.
Sorry?
Some of them don't exist anymore.
A
like
lot of them
Czechoslovakia.
Well, a lot of them don't exist anymore. I mean, places are changing all the time. For instance, I noticed in the European qualifying, there's now a North Macedonia. It used to be, well, I think it's the country that used to be former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. But now it's just called North Macedonia. Presumably because South Macedonia is actually in Greece.
So how many have we got watching us now? Is it just Michael and Anxious?
I think so.
We may have thrown him for a loop being here early.
Yeah, that's okay. It's but yeah, so we're well, I, as it's all my fault, I will take all blame. Mr. Burpee. Want to talk about book burning? Well, not really. I want to talk about rules and rigidity. You know, being dogmatic about things. But I'm going to use book burning as an entree to that topic because, like many people, I was of the opinion it's never a good thing to burn books. It's just a attitude. You know, you just adopt. And as what's his name, Tyson, Oh, bloody physicists! My brain never works. We're saying you should never adhere to a principle you can't explain. But a lot of us will have this just attitude. Oh yeah, no, because we hear it. You mustn't burn books. Burning books is bad. And then you hear of something and you go, in this case, I can understand why they burnt the book. Very, because individual circumstances can influence what you were, what you think on a particular topic. So you can have a general rule. In general, we don't want to burn books. In general, books are good. But there are times when it's not so much you would want to burn a book to ban it, but you would burn a book, as happened in America recently, to make a point. Yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you.
Isn't he the one who got rid of Pluto?
I don't think he individually got rid of Pluto. I think there's a huge international committee who decide on these things, and they just decided to change the definition of what a planet is to be more rigorous, because the alternative was to accept thousands of other planetoids as planets and have to give them all names as opposed to the strange numbered designations they tend to have. Yeah, but as I say, there's a difference between book burnings as a group activity, as an authoritarian measure, and the spontaneous burning of somebody's book, because that book is foisted upon you against your wishes or choice. You don't have any choice in it, and the person is spewing hate in that book. It's like, this is what I think of your book. That or toilet paper, basically.
Well, in some cases, some books practically the same thing. There is such a thing as a bad book, and people will say that's subjective, but I don't know. It's if you're going to protest a book, the ultimate way to do that is to burn it. Like burning the American flag is the ultimate way to protest. Against the government.
Yeah, or the Quran, or the point is it's a symbolic act if you're doing it as a single thing. If you are, say, a government-sponsored organisation who round up all of a particular type of book or all of the copies of a book, put them in a big bonfire and have a social celebration about burning it, that I suggest is not a good thing. If, on the other hand, you are a student and you are made to buy a particular book for your studies and read said book for your studies, and you find that in this day of supposed tolerance, the book spouts hatred and bigotry, you might turn around and say, well, we object, which is the specific point, that for every general rule, you will always find exceptions, and also the rule will tend to become less applicable over time. Yes? No? Maybe?
Well, we can get Anxious Aussie and Michael Keller's opinion on this too.
No, it's not for jungles. It's because it rains so much and the country is green of grass and things. Very verdant. And so that's why it's green. It's not jungles. Jungles tend to be more tropical. Forests in the north, jungles in the south. So south. Sorry, anxious Aussie. Towards the middle, the equatorial bits are jungles, and the forests at the temperate zones. Shouldn't be so northern hemisphere centric, should I? That was shocking of me. I do apologise.
Yes, and I do realise that I have to channel my inner Modwin and argue with John Moore, but we'll get to that as we go through the stream.
How can stickers be transphobic? Or are you meaning that someone put stickers and the message was transphobic and then the police are investigating?
Oh, that was the message on it.
Said woman, noun, a female human. Oh, right. Sorry, it's a definition. Woman, noun, a female human. Yes. Because biological fact is transphobic, apparently. And if you can get the radical feminists to recognise reality, you really are going outside the stickers are binary. Yes, quite. As are many things. Yes.
Oh, we've got another SOT. Stickers other side. Stickers other.
He's retracted it. No. Stickers are binary. One side sticks to reality, the other side doesn't. You can report the culprit to Crime Stoppers. Oh my God.
1984 is not an instruction manual.
No, it is. It is, and it's not. It's not the only one. Brave New World and others have been co-opted.
The Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah, Animal Farm.
Yes.
It's not so much. They've changed two legs bad, four legs good to four legs good, two legs better. It's that their equivalent is
two legs.
Everyone
bad,
is equal, so we must discriminate against this group.
It's two legs bad, white two legs even worse, four leg donkeys can the best.
Yeah, you're better off when you're doing it in the chat when you don't have to do it out loud. You can come up with funnier ones.
Oh, I try.
Snickers or Twix?
SOT.
No, I know, but Topic. Snickers or Topic? Snickers is peanut, Topic is hazelnut. Not Twix, Topic. Snickers or Topic?
They don't know what you're talking about. They've never seen a Topic.
Haven't they? I thought it was the same company. I thought it was Mars as well.
Yeah, but they don't really export Topics.
Well, okay.
It's like for years in Switzerland, you never got Polo mints.
That might be until a Swiss company bought Roundtree.
Well, no, even after that. I've got friends who were in Switzerland, and every time they came to Ireland, the first thing they stocked up on was Polo mints.
Seen other topics, yes. So, yes. So, the point being is my view that rules are bad because the problem that I have witnessed in my life is this: you make a rule, and you make a rule to satisfy a purpose, but You express it as a set of instructions, not as a description of the actual purpose. And then people learn to follow the instructions. And if the instructions do not achieve the purpose, they don't care because they're following the rules.
Yes, but who makes the rules then?
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, what matters is the purpose. You agree on doing something, a purpose, and then the minute you codify that as a rule, you're storing up problems for the future.
Yeah. No, then the problem comes that you immediately get people who try to say, "Oh, we're edgy. We want to break all these rules and break the norms, and these rules are
Yeah, but if you don't
oppressive."
have rules, they can't break them. Sorry.
Anarchists.
Yeah. But no, I mean, and see the problem is this. The reason you have rules is because things have gotten too large, and so you need a way to communicate what you want to do that isn't personal.
Well, it's also a way of harmonizing society, so to speak.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, because they're large, because it's large. The problem is one of scale. It's how do you communicate on a large scale? You write rules. But the problem is that rules are very poor descriptors of what it is you're trying to achieve.
Yes, and hence the evolution of judges to interpret the rules in given situations.
And then the judges decide they're going to fuck the rules and just do whatever they wanted anyway. In Britain, anyway.
Yes, sad to say. But we can work on these things once we're out.
Well, that's the trouble. We get to keep the frigging judges. They're on the
Well,
inside. I still like my idea of sticking all the remainers inside the M25 from all over the UK and build a wall.
well, there's nothing to stop us putting them at one end of the Channel Tunnel and bringing it up.
Yeah, but that's near where I live. I'm not that interested in having them any closer to me than necessary. Living in a leave area. Yes, come on, talk to me. We're
Well, I'm trying. Oh,
I
we've got
know,
another person.
going, oh, a dead air
It's not.
stream where they're not saying anything at all because they're
Well, I'm
totally.
just not used to arguing with people, so.
You don't have to argue. We can just agree. Yes, you're so right. And argue. You're so right. This is not at all an echo chamber, is it? No, absolutely not. You are correct. This is not. Sorry.
I just don't like to make it that easy for people.
Yeah, well, if they wanted if I'm not good with geography, I'll never know where they're put. So how long till you will leave? Well, that depends on who you talk to. We might leave at the end of the month. There are those who are convinced that we won't. See, my own preferred theory is if we don't leave at the end of the month, then a Brexit party will stand and walk the next election and we'll leave the day after the election. So I think we will leave, whereas those who are convinced we will never leave. and I don't actually perceive, without ending our electoral process altogether, that could possibly happen. What do you think, Ludicrous?
I think it's too far gone to stop Brexit. Whether it's the Brexit we want or the Brexit we deserve is to be seen.
Yes, I think that's more likely. I think you're correct. I think much more likely to have a corrupted Brexit.
Yes, because that's the only thing that'll stop full-scale turmoil in the UK.
Well, I mean, I think it is an interesting situation now, because the political parties have so pissed off the electorate. It's very hard to see how they can come back from it.
Well, I think that Boris is doing an okay job, given the situation where the Tory party were at.
Oh yeah, no, he is. I'm not saying no politicians, but the parties in general, because
Yeah.
how much? Because what did someone say? I hear different figures. 80% of MPs are Remainers, right? Now, some of
Yes.
those will live in Remain constituencies, but an awful lot don't, and that cuts across all party lines. And therefore, even if the Conservatives, get Brexit and people are generally mollified by that, there will be particular MPs where the electorates will be like, not voting for you. If you want to get in to Conservative Party, we want a different candidate.
Yes, but I also suspect that there might be a night of the long potato peelers.
Spoons. And spoons, potato
So
peelers.
we're all going to get licenses, and we're all going to get them potato peelers.
Yeah. Hello, Keel Knight. Nice to see you.
Yes, we were referencing book burning because there was a recent video posted by Sargon of Akkad and others. You said V.
V did one,
And
yes.
yeah, and in that video, the well, for lack of a a different term, right wing group.
No.
Well, maybe centrist, but
No. Actually, it's much more interesting than that. Okay, so right, here's what happened at a college somewhere in the United States. The first year students were mandated a particular book, and it was a book. I believe it was fictional, but it was My Year Amongst the Whites by an Hispanic woman, and it was all about how, even though she'd gone to a prestigious university, she realized that she was a person of color and had a different cultural background. And so,
how
having
depressing.
talked herself out of being integrated, integrated and into victimhood. Okay. Now, okay, that's the book. She then appeared at said college for a talk, but during the talk, she didn't actually talk about the book. What she did was basically tell the students about their white privilege and how shocking people they were. And several of the students tried during that talk to point out, hey, you don't know us. Why are you assuming we're all X? That's not what it's about. And so their actual argument was that surprise, surprise, these kids had noticed the hypocrisy in the social justice hating of white people. They noticed that you cannot argue for diversity and equality and then hate on a large segment of the population purely on the basis of their race. So it's not an anti-diversity message. It was you're not diversitying correctly message.
So it was left wing then.
Well, it could be, or it could just be, as I say,
People had enough.
no, it's more like they've internalized a message, right? They've internalized a message. We're all equal. Diversity is a good thing, and everybody else is, and everyone's fine. However you are, however you want to be, you be you. And they've taken that message as its, to its natural conclusion, which means you can't demonize white people just for being white because they're individuals. So in that sense, they are right wing because they're individualists. They're saying you can't judge me on my intrinsic characteristics, but it's also pro diversity.
Yes.
So it's hard to position them on the spectrum, is what I'm trying to get at. You can't call them right wing because they weren't attacking diversity, but you can't call them left wing because they weren't doing the social justice nonsense.
Well, maybe they were to a certain extent, but it was just kind of catching up with this person's bullshit. But to bring it back to Anxious Ozzy's question, it ended up with these students burning the books burning this woman's books because they thought they were saying she was racist.
They were particularly offended by her her behaviour at her personal appearance. It wasn't that they read the book and then they said, this book is so horrible, we're going to burn it. It sounded like a very personal reaction to her message.
But that doesn't mean the book wasn't bad.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that it was there were a lot of social media posts where they explained why they were upset and what they were doing. And apparently they all went round to the hotel she was booked into to protest, but she'd had sense and buggered off out of town.
Yes. Well, if you're not willing to stand up for your writing, then you're not worth listening to.
Yes, and hi Nick's Radio and Richard Bear. Sorry we're early. I thought of being a bit kinder to the Europeans tonight, seeing as we were not constrained by Modwayne's times, because he's still being a dad, which is the best job in the world, most important job in the world.
Hi, Nick and Richard.
But yes, so the point was, when I first heard the story, I'm like, I can understand that reaction.
Mm-hmm. But I do have a confession to make.
Okay.
When I was young in the 90s, I did actually burn some CDs.
CDs?
Yes.
But that's music, they're not books. That's all right.
Yeah, no, I burned a whole pile of CDs so I could listen to them in the car. And
dear.
It was Nero's burning Rome.
Is Modwayne here? Have I missed him?
No, he thinks I'm Modwayne, and then I've had a voice change and an accent change.
Oh, of course, because he can't see. No, it's Ludicrous Leprechaun who is. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was the term burn, and I was fixed in setting fire to things mode, not put data on.
Give us time, Renovation. We're making a list.
Yeah. Are we? I mean, personally, people just stick the books in the recycling, and then they just get recycled. Which is
No, it's worse than that now. They leave them as a kind of a library in um, coffee shops and stuff like that. So people leave their old books behind that nobody wants to read in a coffee shop.
yes. Yeah. Well, I had broached the idea of him using his whatever he does to get his voice to sound different. When he comes on live, but you haven't done it, have you, young man? Young
Not yet.
leprechaun. Sorry, I'm sorry I misspecied you.
I don't mean to disappoint my fans, but I can only do so much at a time.
You are going to be on it. On it?
On the list.
No. God, it's only important things. Crikey.
Well, he's talking about the list of
Things to
who's going to
burn.
be burned.
Yeah, so I said only important people, Oh, goodness. Oh, dear. Yes. Different jargon across the pond. It does get very confusing. I find this every now and again talking to Americans.
Well, technically, it was a burner because they were actually burning the dots into the surface of the CD with the laser. So
Non-important things, so I'll be on the list then. No, only important things will be on the list. Michael.
Nero
Apparently.
fiddled while rock.
I don't know why I'm saying this. I don't even know what list you're talking about, but if there was a list. If there was a list, unless you're a baby, Michael, and then you can be eaten by that crazy woman in America.
I ate a baby.
Well, let's be fair. If you're going to eat humans, you want them young, when the meat's still nice and tender. That's all I'm saying. Just as with other animals, you eat the infants, the children. You don't tend to eat the adults. Don't tend to be so nice. That's why we have lamb and not mutton.
So you prefer the veal?
I do like veal, to be honest, but I don't like the icky raised veal. I like the less unnaturally raised veal.
It is quite expensive, Richard, so I kind of have to stockpile it. That's why I've been a bit behind on videos.
Yes. It's not really a helium voice, though, is it? It's more a an Irish comic voice, shall we say?
What you mean, like Dara O'Brien?
No, not like the regular voice of an Irish comic. I mean, the voice someone might put on to sound comically Irish.
Well, there's some people who doubt that I'm Irish, and others who doubt I even exist.
Well, that's fair enough. You are a mythical creature after all. Therefore, no, just because we're having a conversation doesn't mean you have to exist. It could all be my imagination.
And in some ways, that would make more logical sense.
Yeah, and kudos to me for projecting that out into the world so other people can hear it too.
That's the schizophrenia.
Yeah. Well, we shouldn't shame the mentally ill. That's the point. Though apparently this seems to be verging on so we shouldn't even treat the mentally ill, which I'm not 100% sure is a good thing.
Well, we used to have safe spaces in society. They were called mental asylums, but unfortunately, they were all closed down.
Well, originally, mental asylums were actually somewhere where people went for entertainment. People would go along to Bedlam on a weekend and have a laugh watching the inmates being mental.
Well, now they just watch Joker.
Speaking of which, did you get to see it?
Yes, I went to see it in the cinema on Saturday, so I thought it was a decent show, well worth watching.
I find the problem is the more hyped a film is before you see it, the more disappointed I leave. Whereas if I go with low expectations, I come out happy because I'm going, oh, that was better than everyone said.
Well, I tried not to get too much detail before going in, so I'd only seen scant mentions of the film before going in, so I could have a fresh kind of unbiased pair of eyes. Well, as unbiased as it could be, realistically, to see if it was worth watching and worth talking about. And in a lot of ways, I think it is relevant today.
Yeah. Well, I think that what surprised me exactly like Michael Keller. I told Modwin his worst feature is being an optimist. I said it's bad. It's bad. Don't be an optimist. Optimism is bad. But yeah, what surprised me about the film is because I don't often pay attention at all to media reviews. So it's not. I don't have a lot of experience. But what surprised me was how varied people describe the same film. And having seen it, I'm like, I don't think any of these people saw the same film as me. And in a sense, they didn't, because each of us has our own worldview into which everything we see fits.
Yeah, there is the obvious issue of everyone has a different perception, therefore everyone's going to see the same thing differently. Like the old story about the three blind men describing an elephant. Um,
Yeah,
it's because this film is different to a lot of people what people are expecting, and it's a lot darker and it's pretty realistic, so to speak, more than fantastics, I would say, with the Batman or Superman to go even more fantastic.
yeah,
It's like one of the big things was that people were looking at this and saying this could be someone I know or me.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was like a distillation of everyone's experience, like taken to the worst degree. So all the bad things that could happen, all and the point is there will be a small number of people who live that. You know what I mean? It's like some people not much bad happens to, a small number of people one bad thing happens to, and then a tiny number of people lots of bad things happen to.
um, no,
Yeah, sorry, Richard Bay was saying one problem is that the mental health hospitals were sometimes used as prisons for people who committed the crime of making other people uncomfortable. Whereas these days, they just put all the mentally ill in prison.
or university.
Well, no, apparently a significant proportion of people in prison have mental health problems. Though, depending upon how you define it, by definition, criminals have mental health problems. But there you go.
Mm. But I also say universities as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I would. Unlike the mental health places I would open again, I would shut the universities. So it reminds me. It reminds me of. It's a joke. It's a joke, but it's true. Okay, a friend of mine said, unlike most people, I've actually got a certificate declaring myself sane. Because they've been in the mental health and they were cleared, so they've actually got a piece of paper, official piece of paper, announcing them to be officially sane, which not many people can
Unfortunate.
say.
Yeah, but that can also be unfortunate because if you're the only one with the certificate saying you are sane, then you bear the brunt of the responsibility.
No, it's a sane, not responsible.
Well, they're saying if you're insane, you can't be responsible. Therefore, the only person who can be responsible is the
All
ones who
right,
are
so they're
sane.
now saying all women are insane. I don't agree, by the way. I'm just saying that all those feminists and leftists who do everything to show that women cannot be responsible for anything are therefore saying they're all insane.
Well, I got in trouble a couple of years ago for posting a meme on social media, and the meme stated that it's a scary, it's a worrying fact that 25% of women are on psychiatric medication, and it's
Mm.
worrying because 75% of them are going out untreated.
Mm. Facts are hateful. That's the problem. Facts are hate. But no, actually, because talking about seeing the film, okay, so more than one person I have heard about have compared the crowds to Antifa to Occupy Wall Street because of signs they held up or whatever. Now, here's the problem. What if you don't know about those connections? Because when I saw a sign calling the one Thomas Wayne is a fascist, well, that's just a regular insult that has been applied for decades. You call someone you don't like a fascist. Doesn't mean it comes from an anti-fascist who is especially a fascist one.
Yes. Well, the one problem I had with the film to a certain respect was it was lazily resting on the trope of the rich, evil, white person, so to speak, being the driving motion for the film. I'm not exactly sure what they could have done different, but I just thought, it was a bit too easy. I'm spoiling it now, aren't I? Sorry, I should have warned everyone in the chat. This stream may contain spoilers for
No,
Joker.
did contain spoilers.
Well, we haven't spoiled the story as a whole. We've just talked in general vagaries about uh, aspects that happened in the film. But for anyone who's spoiled, if feels the film is spoiled now, blame John.
Okay. You see, being older, and as it was set in clearly 1970s New York, okay, and although I'm British, not American, I totally related to those days because uh, we didn't call them garbage strikes because we don't call it garbage, we call it rubbish. But rubbish strikes. And so we had rubbish piling up in the streets. This was a real thing that happened in Britain in the late 1970s. So the depiction of the timescale was, oh, yeah, well, that's what it was like. But there was no Antifa or SJWs back then, just a class struggle between rich and poor. Okay. And so when you see people who are feeling left out of society, marginalised, going on the streets, rioting. Yeah, we had those too through the 70s and 80s. These were historical facts. And so to relate it to what's happening now, to me, didn't actually, I didn't need to do that because it was like, this is set in a time where the events depicted happened. Okay.
Yes, as Greta Thunberg would say, how dare you?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I watched a video where we didn't have her audio, just had her the
Text.
pictures, and she looks deranged. Seriously, she just looked deranged.
Well, she sounds deranged in the video as well.
No, I
Not that
know,
I'm
but I'm
saying
just
that
saying, but
she's
just from the
deranged, but
optics, she looked deranged. It's like, when you listen to someone speak, turn the sound down and watch them because you actually can get a better sense just
it
by.
did remind me. Yeah, it did remind me of old videos I saw of Hitler's speeches. But you can't say that.
You can say anything you want. You might get castigated, but you can certainly say it.
It was the image that popped into my mind. I'm not equating her to Hitler. I'm just saying that the
No, I know you are. You see, but such nuanced comparison is verboten in this oversensitive time. And that's the problem because it shouldn't be. I mean, it's like all those American socialists who want universal health care. Well, guess who else introduced universal health care? That's right, Hitler. So, in that sense, they're exactly like the Nazis. But then the Nazis were socialists. So, there you go.
you've stolen my garbage and my childhood.
Yes. No, well, what gets me is in a speech, she says, and you come to us for answers. And I'm thinking, who are you talking to? I certainly didn't
I don't
go
know.
to you. I wouldn't go to you if you were the last person on earth, young woman.
Well, to be fair, I've never gone to a kind of a teenager and asked them, "Can you help solve world climate problems for me, please? Thank you. That's grand. Here you go. Off you go now."
Yeah. But no, the very fact that she was invited to speak to the United Nations, yeah, I mean,
Very impressed.
publicity stunt. Publicity stunt. Try not to mispronounce that, because I'm sure it could be pronounced in a very. Was there an episode that dealt with a coal strike? Well, coal strikes ran for about 15 years continuously, so very probably Richard Bear, but I couldn't tell you whether there was or not.
Yes.
Richard is an American who schools me thoroughly on British sitcoms from my childhood. It is most embarrassing, or would be if I cared, because he is remarkably knowledgeable, admirably so. He should go on Mastermind. What's your specialist subject? Sitcoms of the 1970s from Britain.
Yes, for the German speakers, doesn't Thunberg translate to Tuna Town?
Tuna, as in the fish.
Yes. Thun, I think, is German for tuna, but I could be wrong. There's also a Swiss town called Thun.
Uh-huh. Well, is she Swedish, Norwegian, something like that? Some,
Scandinavian.
yeah.
Make it easier.
See, it could be Town.
Nah. Berg is.
Yeah, no. There's so like you've got
Okay, Tuna Mountain.
Tuna Mountain. Oh, yes. Yeah, because you've got was it the
I mixed up my Berg and my Berg.
is it the polar bear is something like bear, and because you've got different languages, and there are mountains in Britain called mountain, a lake called lake, because it's got three different words for lake all strung together.
No, that's common in languages. There's certain fish names that just translate to a different country's word for fish.
Yeah.
So you get tuna fish and
Actually, because I was talking to Toxic Threads, and her daughter's getting married on Saturday, and so I was saying, "Oh, what are you wearing?" And she's wearing a traditional Korean dress, and I'd never heard of this item, so I searched for it, and the translation of the dress is literally female garment.
yes. Well, they're very practical and a lot of those, very efficient in the Asian languages. They.
But what was funny is it's called hanbok, HAMBOK.
Very cultural appropriation-ish.
But, well, not really, as she's been bought it by Koreans and buying it in Korea.
Well, it doesn't matter if she's not Korean, then
Wear
when she
white.
wears it, she's going to be accused.
White? What makes you think it should be white, Michael Kelly? It'd be very colourful, I'm sure.
For a wedding.
And, yeah, but she's not the one getting married. As in, her daughter's getting married. Which is what I said. But I don't know if the Korean tradition is for the bride to wear white either. But I couldn't possibly comment because I don't know. I just hope for their sake it's not one of these weddings where it goes on for 3 days, because you do get cultures where they do that.
Oh, yeah, they do that in Poland. Basically, spend a whole night, a day and a night getting married.
Yeah. And no, I had absolutely no idea about that, Michael Keller. So your joke went way over my head, which is not hard because I'm sat down. It's quite hard to see. But yeah, so it was called hanbok, except the Toxic uses a voice to text translator on her phone rather than typing, because typing on a phone is horrible. And it sent it across as handbook. And so I put that into a search, and all I got back was handbook, which wasn't the thing at all.
That wasn't exactly what you were looking for.
So I put Korean dress into it, and then it came back with hanbok, and I thought, that's close enough, that'll be the one. And then I would like to say I read a Wikipedia article on it, but I didn't. I skimmed a Wikipedia article on it, where I noticed it say that the literal translation of the word means Korean dress, woman's dress.
Yeah, I hope she's doing okay.
Well, if you have access to the TLC channel, at some point or other, you will probably be able to see it, because it is being filmed by, as her daughter is part of a reality television show.
Oh, yes, I remember she mentioned that.
So, yes. So sooner or later, it will be out there in the public domain. Well, we've done an hour. So shall we call it a day, Ludicrous?
Yes, I don't want to outstay my welcome longer than
Well,
I have to.
you are welcome. But Michael Keller's saying the badges have gone live.
Yeah, I know, and I'm no mod Wayne. I accept that.
Yeah, no, Michael, we understand.
Going and entertained.
We understand. We've had an hour. So, and we are prattling on now about Korean wedding dresses or wedding garments, and not burning of books or anything uninteresting like that.
Well, we tried to keep with the theme today about SJW Comeuppance, book burning, and how it relates to the Joker, but it's up to others to judge.
Yes. To be honest, I don't think they listened for our deep insights. I think it's more because they need something to do. So, yes. So thank you all for coming. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you, Ludicrous, so much for preventing me from having to prattle on alone. And
No,
it was a real pleasure. And hopefully,
yes.
Modwayne, whose lovely wife returns from her native land later this week, will be with us on Saturday. I'm hoping.
And
Praying,
I hope that
praying. And I'm an atheist, so if I'm praying, it's serious.
I'm also hoping the channel won't be struck down by then.
They'd have to find it first.
True.
Yes, it was a usual one. Absolutely anxious, I think. Yes, good night to you all. Thank you very much. And I'm ending the stream in, a couple of seconds now.
Oh, well.
Oops. Hang on.